Welcome into the Fantasy Football Diagnostics Podcast, where we provide you with your weekly diagnosis of everything fantasy football. Whether it's season-long leagues, dynasty, DFS, or sometimes even IDP, we got you covered all year long. Let's do it. Let's get to it. Welcome into the Fantasy Football Diagnostics Podcast. It is Thursday, December 28th. I'm your host, John June, and of course, got to have my guy, Greg Penniman, here with me. Greg, how you doing, man?
Doing well. About to start this new year. Hopefully we can finish the year with the win or enter it. I think it's like right on that Sunday, so it's perfect. We get to week 17 championship week for a lot of people. Hopefully this will be like the ultimate, starting the year fresh with a win.
Yes, sir. Hopefully that is what we end up doing, and hopefully we hope you guys get there, or hope you guys get to, that championship that we all strive for. But obviously, like Greg alluded to, some of y'all might be playing in week 18, so maybe some of y'all are trying to get to the chip. So, let's kind of just jump into it. We're breaking every single game down here today. You are also going to get streams of the week. You're also going to get starts of the week. We'll also play Get Money, which at this point feels like we're just playing for fun because Greg has like pretty much locked down this win. But unfortunately, we are not live today. Could not get live, but we are doing a pre-recorded show. So, you're still getting everything. The only difference is won't be able to ask questions live. But hopefully we can, if you reach out on Twitter, we or in the comment section on YouTube, we could help address any questions that you guys might have. But without further ado, Greg, let's jump into Thursday Night Football, and we've got the 6-9 New York Jets traveling to Cleveland to face off the 10-5 Cleveland Browns. This game has a 34.5-point total. The Cleveland Browns are 7-point favorites. Greg, I can't imagine that if we knew going into the season that Deshaun Watson would be injured, that the backup, or basically the Browns would go on to start essentially 4 quarterbacks this season, that they would have a 10-5 record. I don't think many of us believe they'd have a 10-5 record with Deshaun Watson, but like, how shocked are you that Cleveland is here, in week 16 or week 17 playing for not just a chance at the division title here, but they have a chance to be the number 1 seed in the AFC. Like, this is crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, definitely you can wrap your head around the defense playing well. Probably have a game managing quarterback, but now the defense is also playing well with Joe Flacco, also winning them games for them as well. So it's crazy. They're actually a dangerous team going into the postseason. Really good at home as well.
Yeah, definitely very good. Greg, what direction are you going with in regards to this game here?
Yeah, I'm gonna take the over. I'm gonna take Cleveland to cover and Cleveland to win.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the under. A part of me, Cleveland's defense has been a little bit. They've been more beatable over these last several weeks. So Denzel Ward has been out of the lineup. Myles Garrett's been banged up, so they've been a little attackable. But the Jets, they can't really attack much. Many defenses. So initially, I went with the Jets to cover the 7 points. But I think that's more wishful thinking. I'm going to take Cleveland to cover. I'm going to take Cleveland to win this game.
Yeah, I'm more surprised that we're here in week 17 in a primetime game and the Jets are still in another primetime game. I thought we were done after. I feel it feels like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, no, we're not done. Although these last few primetime Thursday night games have hit the over, which I'm sure, which is why you went with the over here.
Yeah.
But in terms of this game, Amari Cooper, we're finding out, is dealing with a heel injury. His status is up in the air. He is pushing to play. They are, quote unquote, hopeful that he'll play. But it is a tough matchup for him. I mean, assuming he does go, how would you rank Amari Cooper in this matchup against the Jets secondary?
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't expect what he did last week. I, would kind of, bump him down to if it was a normal matchup, I'd be inclined to maybe make him a wide receiver 1, but I think he's a solid, mid-tier wide receiver 2. And with being banged up, more on the low end side, I think this week.
Yeah, I mean, if he was healthy, I'd probably have him as a mid-tier, like middle of the pack wide receiver too, somewhere about between like 14 and 18, just because of the the target share and the target total he'll get. And they
Yeah.
do move him around a lot, right? It's not like, and the Jets don't travel corners, right? So he can have matchups against Sauce, he can have matchups against DJ Reed. They'll put him in the slot, but I think he'll be at assuming that he does go, that he'll won't spend the entirety of the day matched up against like a Sauce Gardner. So I think that allows you, gives you some reassurance that he's playable. With the injury, I think you said, you'd probably downgrade him to like a lower tier wide receiver too. But I think that just means wheels up for a guy like David Njoku, who has been on a tear here. And if Amari Cooper is limited in any way, uh, a lot of those targets should go to him, as well as former Jet Elijah Moore. So how do you, obviously in Njoku, we feel really strongly about him as a tight end one. How do you feel about if Amari Cooper doesn't go, maybe going with an Elijah Moore in this game?
Yeah, still, their corners on both sides are pretty solid. I think, Elijah Moore, it is a revenge game for him, but I still rate him as a mid wide receiver three type guy. I think I could still find some other matchups that or harder for this game for him.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way there. How do we feel about Joe Flacco? I mean, I know you highlighted him in the waiver show. I was kind of, apprehensive there, but the volume of pass attempts is going to be high, like it has been. I mean, he's been 40 pass attempts plus, each of these last four games here with the Browns. How do you think he stacks up against this Jets defense that, again, very strong against opposing quarterbacks and opposing pass offenses? If I just quickly look here, the Jets allow they're a 32nd, right? They allow the 32nd most fantasy points to the quarterback position. How do you feel about Joe Flacco this week?
Yeah, I think, he won't be doing, the tear that he's been on. I think you can temper some expectations, but I still think he's a top 15 play for quarterbacks. So I'm gonna have him right in that borderline QB1 range, but yeah, high in QB2 for this week.
Yeah, he's gonna be probably a middle of the road QB2 for me, probably around like 18 or so. Like in super flex leagues, I think you can still go with him because I think there will be a halfway decent floor there just from the pass attempts that he might get. But also there's the thought that what if they just attack this Jets defense on the ground, which,
Mhm.
Cleveland is definitely more than capable of, and the Jets are definitely beatable there, allowing the seventh most PPR points to the running back position. So that being said, how do you feel about Jerome Ford?
Yeah, I mean, Jerome Ford's kind of like low in RB2. Hasn't really wowed, especially since I feel like Joe Flacco's kind of opened up the passing game more too. So they have to rely on it heavily. But maybe they do go back to a little bit here. So a touchdown could be in his sights for sure for this game. But I think, touchdown dependent kind of RB3.
Yeah, I would lean there that way too, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I think he does finish as an RB2 ultimately. The volume is not where it was at the beginning of the year since they signed Kareem Hunt, so that definitely is somewhat of a detriment there. But like you said, if he gets in the end zone, he can definitely finish as a mid-tier RB2 here this week. On the Jet side, there's really just two and a half names, and we'll get to the half in a little bit. But Brees Hall, obviously, coming off the big game, has saw 16 targets in the last game, which is a huge number for him.
Hmm.
And a lot of those were, again, there weren't more than just dump offs. They were designed, like screenplays. Cleveland over their last three games, 23rd most PPR points to the running back position. So, um, you know, they are not what they were at the beginning of the year, but they're not as bad as they've been in, towards that middle part of the year there either. So, how do you feel about Brees Hall this week? Is he an RB1 for you?
Yeah, I would think so based on, I mean, if they're going to use him like they did last week, he's got to be RB1. I'm assuming that they're going to keep that kind of game plan going. I mean, obviously you never know, but yeah, I would think low in RB1 for me in this matchup.
Most definitely. And Garrett Wilson, probably going to be a wide receiver too. I mean, that's really what he's been all year, right? Is a
Yeah,
wide
yeah,
receiver
yeah,
too.
yeah. You throwing him out there? Yeah.
Then the half I mentioned, Tyler Conklin in a good spot here, has at least 4 receptions in each of his last 3 games. Cleveland is allowing the second most PPR points to the tight end position. Is there any part of you that is willing to throw Tyler Conklin out there?
Yeah, I think with the safe floor, you're happy to throw him out there. You know we're gonna get probably right under double digits, but not gonna kill your day. So I think that's kind of what I'm expecting.
Yeah, I agree there. Anything else on this game? Any other players on either side that you are interested in?
No.
All right. Now it's time for some bold predictions here. Greg, what do you have on the table for us today?
Uh, well, I think I'm gonna go. Let's see. Mm, checking these odds here, but I like Njoku a lot. If just the stretch he's been on, so I think I'm gonna have to tailor something around him. Go with his receptions. I think David Njoku's receptions, and I will probably take Cleveland to like win the game with that receptions. Actually, yeah, Cleveland's money line with David Njoku's receptions props.
What's his reception prop at?
Let me see. Uh, it's at 4.5.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So with that and a Browns win, it's minus 106. It can maybe bump that up a little bit with Cleveland cover. I could do that. And so plus 194 for the people.
Okay, not bad.
The
You know
cover's at
me.
7.5 now. The spread, at least
I
on FanDuel.
I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna do a little bit off of Njoku, but I'm gonna go heavy on the Jets side. Brees Hall 4+ receptions. Let me see what that is at 4+ receptions is at minus 235. Garrett Wilson 5+ receptions that's minus 152. David Njoku 4+ receptions that's minus 360. And then to bring it all together, we've got a Jerome Ford anytime touchdown, which is plus 200. Seems kind of um those seem kind of low odds there. But all that together, and you've got a plus 812 here. So, um, feeling pretty good about that one there.
Definitely I'll put some little change on that. Sure.
All right, time to get to streams of the week. Greg, why do we both like Tyrod Taylor this week?
Yeah, man, we're going deep in the bag. He's 2% roster, but he's going against the LA Rams. And I mean, Danny DeVito would have had a solid matchup here, but Tyrod Taylor's getting the start. I like him to go here. He was having a solid season before he got hurt in that Jets game. So I think he's going to have a great day here. We know the Rams are very attackable, especially with the outside guys. Don't know who he's going to do it with, but that doesn't matter. He's going to get it to his receivers.
I can never tell if you are calling Tommy DeVito Danny DeVito
Danny,
in
Tommy.
jest or if you're doing it by accident. And it seems like you're doing it by accident.
I
So
am. I am.
that's great. Yeah, I'm like you said, going deep in the bag here. But we're chasing the matchup, right? I mean, the Rams over the last 3 weeks allowed the most fantasy points to the quarterback position, and that rushing floor that Tyrod brings, right? Like we forget about that. And the Rams, again, like we said, the best matchup here. Don't know who he's going to throw the ball to, but I don't really particularly care.
Nope.
Again, this is for if you've been riding Joe Flacco. All right, would you go Tyrod here or would you go Joe Flacco?
Uh, that's that's tough. I think um I still go Joe. I think I Joe. Still go Joe Flacco. Riding the hot hand here.
Yeah, I am gonna say Tyrod. It might be a controversial take. I may be wrong here, but I just feel more comfortable about Tyrod. The only quarterbacks that have really gotten theirs against the Jets
Yeah,
have been Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen, and those two guys, what do they have in common? They run for touchdowns. So,
yeah.
um, yeah, that's I think that's the only caveat there. But tight end, where are you going for your tight end stream of the week this week, Greg?
Yeah, tight end stream of the year. I mean, Chigo and Nwankwo going against Houston. He's 40% rostered. He's just been a solid guy all year, giving you that low floor, low ceiling though. But he was able to break out last week, getting over double-digit points. Seems to always be involved in the offense, which is always a good thing. And Houston, and just in general, on the outside end to tight end, have been a pretty good matchup all year. So I think he's gonna again give you what you need at the tight end position.
Yeah, definitely like Chico this week. My tight end stream of the week this week is actually going to be Tyler Conklin, rostered in 16% of Yahoo leagues. We talked about him a little bit before when we were breaking down the Thursday night game, but he has exactly 4 receptions over his last three. He's third on the team in target share over the last 3 games with an 18% target share. Cleveland has allowed the second most PPR points to the position over their last 3 games. So Conklin brings a nice floor, and then the matchup is nice as well. That should provide some opportunities here. Greg, your defensive stream of the week this week. What do you got?
Yeah, taking Tampa Bay versus New Orleans. I mean, usually Tampa Bay, they're usually a very good team to tackle on the perimeter and in general. But last week they definitely showed out and did a great job against Jacksonville, especially in that first half. In New Orleans, I'm not expecting Derek Carr to put up another solid week. I can't see that happening. So this offense definitely is going to have some struggles against Tampa Bay. I think they can force some turnovers and some mistakes.
Yeah, I definitely like that one. Also did not see this before, but I'm seeing it now, and I'll throw it out there. Tyler Conklin's over on 3.5 receptions is at plus 108, so that's plus money right there. So, if you are inclined for,
Nice little
uh,
straight bet. There you go.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
definitely. The I'm going with the Atlanta defense, 33% roster going up against Chicago. Atlanta's playing for essentially their playoff life right now and a chance at winning the NFC South. They're 3-point underdogs on the road, but projecting them to sack Justin Fields at least 3 times this week and maybe even get an interception here. So should be a close enough game that the Atlanta defense can provide a nice floor in championship week.
Yeah, yeah. Atlanta defense, I definitely like that for sure.
All right, let's move on to the only Saturday game we have this week. The 11-4 Detroit Lions traveling to Dallas to take on the 10-5 Dallas Cowboys. This game has a 53.5 point total, where the Dallas Cowboys are 6 point favorites at home here. I'm going to take the over on 53.5. I'm going to take Dallas to cover the 6, and I'm going to take Dallas to win the game.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the under. I'm gonna take Detroit to cover, but I'll take Dallas to win.
I was going back and forth on that Detroit cover.
Yeah,
It does seem like it's like Dallas is at home, but Jared Goff's also playing indoors. Like, what
yeah.
happens here?
Detroit's a very solid road team as well. But yeah, Dallas is home, so they get the win at least.
Yeah, right. I think Dak Prescott in a nice spot here as a quarterback one. Go along with CD Lamb as his wide receiver one. I
Hmm.
think the question is, how do we feel about Tony Pollard? The Detroit defense over the last 3 games has allowed the 31st most PPR points to the running back position. Um, Tony Pollard has been somewhat underwhelming in spots.
Hmm.
How do you rate? How do you rank him this week in this matchup?
It's tough. I mean, I don't know if you can fully trust him. I think he's kind of like where I feel how Eckler is right now, kind of. So I would think he's more of that. I'm gonna rank him as like a low in RB2. Um, but yeah, if you have a hotter matchup, I start him over Pollard right now.
Yeah, and then Jake Ferguson, how do we feel about him? He's obviously he's had his moments. Detroit allows us 22nd most PPR points to the position. Is he a guy that you are just gonna put him out there and get what you get?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, where Dallas is home. They'll play better. I think the passing volume will be up a little bit in this game as well. So he should have some opportunities outside of CeeDee Lamb and Cook.
Nice, nice. Yeah, are you? thinking of any other wide receiver here? Detroit allows the fifth most PPR points to the position. Any look at Brandon Cooks potentially in this matchup?
Yeah, as a flex option, yeah, I think this is a solid spot for him.
Yeah, most definitely
Yeah.
agree there. And then on the Detroit side, I think, your usual suspects and Gibbs and Amon-Ra St. Brown as respective ones as ones at their respective positions. I think Monty's gonna he seems like he finishes as like the RB 15 like every week.
Hmm.
Um, and then Sam Laporta, I think we get a nice bounce back here. I mean, Dallas is pretty good against the tight end, 32nd most PPR points allowed to the position, but I don't know how, they played Durham Smythe last week and he caught the ball like 5 times, and Miami barely uses him. So
Yeah,
um, don't know how if that's more of like a function of matchups or if they're actually that good against the tight end. But I think Sam Laporta, you know, like we talked about, is chasing some records here as well. So I'm gonna put Laporta in my lineup, no question.
absolutely.
Question is, how do you feel about Jared Goff? Dallas allows the 24th most points against the position over their last 3 games. Goff obviously struggles somewhat in outdoor game environments, but this game is indoors in Dallas. Should be a high scoring game. Um, we've seen Goff kind of the skill positions. Like it's like we play the skill positions, but we're afraid to play Goff, and then we get like a 5 touchdown game like he had against Denver. Do you see that in the cards for Jared Goff this week? Obviously not the 5 touchdowns, but a nice QB1 type performance.
Yeah, I would throw him out there. I think this is a favorable matchup for him as well as yeah, getting in the red zone is a matter of who, is Gibbs going to run it in or is Gibbs going to catch the ball for a touchdown. So I think those red zone opportunities they could flip to give him multiple touchdowns for that day. But I think he's in a good spot to get at least 2 passing touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, the more I think about this, right, like that we've seen Dallas get beat up on the ground, right? Like that's what Miami did to them a little bit.
Yeah.
That was what Buffalo did to them. So could be a game here where we just get a heavy dose of these two running backs in David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs.
Hmm.
I would play Jared Goff over Joe Flacco.
Yes.
Uh, Anything else on this game, Greg?
No, no.
Moving on to the Sunday action, a lot of 1 p.m. games here, loads of 1 p.m. games. The 11-4 Miami Dolphins traveling to Baltimore to take on the 12-3 Baltimore Ravens. This game has significant playoff implications as both of these teams are essentially fighting for the 1 seed, and this game could help decide that. The total here is 47, and the Baltimore Ravens are 3.5 point favorites. Greg, where are you going with this one?
Yeah, I'm gonna take the over. I'm gonna take Miami to cover, but Baltimore to win. I think it's 3.5. But yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I'm gonna take the under, and I'm gonna take Baltimore to cover the 3.5, Baltimore to win. Um, yeah, I see Lamar as a QB1. Zay Jones probably like a wide receiver 2, borderline 3, maybe potentially. And then Isaiah Likely, I think, gets a nice bounce back game here. Anything you disagree with?
no, I'll take Zay as like stronger wide receiver too. That's about it. Yeah,
And then Gus Edwards, our usual RB3 with some RB1 upside.
yeah, with that touchdown. Yep, yep.
On the Miami side, I mean, it looks like the wide receivers are in a really nice spot here. Baltimore allows the fourth most PPR points to the position over their last 3 games. Tyreek Hill, obviously, one more week removed from that high ankle sprain, so probably going to have to treat him as a wide receiver 1. I mean, and if Waddle can't go, which I don't know what his status is as of today, um, also a nice matchup for him, but does that mean like Tyreek Hill just goes nuclear if we get no Waddle?
Yeah, yeah. Regardless, yeah, I think I'm starting Tyreek Hill with much confidence, of course. Even if Waddle was able to go, I don't think I'd be able to go at this point in championship week with how much injuries he's been in. Like, I don't know if I can go in this one. Uh, put him in the matchup. So yeah, Tyreek Hill, PBV. the really the only pass catcher I would look to. Not really sure who, would really step up in this place for Waddle.
Yeah, I'm not really excited about anybody else. I mean,
Yeah,
you could go Cedric Wilson, but like at that point, like I think I'd rather just go Brandon Cooks.
yeah.
Um, Mostert and Achan, how do you view those guys? Baltimore's 27th against the position the last 3 weeks.
Do like most a little more right around this time, and as providing us the safer floor, get in the end zone. This man's been dominating with touchdowns this year, 18 rushing. So yeah, I'm a most as a low one RB1, HN is like a flex guy.
Yeah, I mean, Mostert, what, 21 total on the year?
Yeah,
Mostert does. Like,
yeah,
it's been
ridiculous.
absolutely bananas.
Yeah.
Um, what about Tua, though? Any, like, strong, do you lean strongly one way or the other? Are you playing them or are you not?
Um, I'm I'm gonna say he's still like a top 15 guy, but again, around 13 or 14. Baltimore's different on defensively. They're on the road. I think this offense is, never not the best when they play like really solid, good defenses. So I'm a reserve back on Tua.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I mean, Baltimore allows the 18th most fantasy points to the quarterback position, and we saw a week like last week where Brock Purdy's not able to get there, but Brandon Ayuk and Debo Samuel do get there, right? So it's not out of the realm of possibility that Tyreek gets there, but Tua doesn't.
Yeah,
So definitely agree with you there. Moving on to this next matchup here, we've got the 4-11 New England Patriots traveling to Buffalo to take on the 9-6 Buffalo Bills. This game has a 40.5 point total, where the Buffalo Bills are 11.5 point favorites at home here. Buffalo needs to keep winning to obviously make it to that seventh, or at least that the wild card spot here, or the sixth wild card spot, I believe it is, for them. Um, I'm going to take the over here. I'm going to take New England to cover the 11.5, but I'm going to take Buffalo to win.
yeah, same. I'm exactly the same on that.
So, James Cook, do we get a bounce back week from him this week? New England allows the fourth most PPR points to the running back position.
Yeah, you gotta hope so. You gotta throw him out there. He was, I think he afforded one bad week. The timing was tough, especially with playoffs, but you gotta throw him out there with the way he's been playing under the Joe Brady.
Most definitely, Josh Allen, light him up as a QB1. I mean, New
Hmm.
England seventh most PPR, or seventh most fantasy points to the quarterback position. Stephon Diggs, though, that's the question that I think needs answers. Has underwhelmed in recent weeks. Target total is still there,
Hmm.
but there's just clearly him and Josh Allen have not been on the same page over this time span. Do you have issues trusting him in this matchup against New England that allows the 20th most PPR points to the wide receiver position?
Questions as in I can't rank him as a wide receiver one right now. I think he's more of a mid tier two, kind of where I would have like around that Amari Cooper range, honestly, against the Jets this week. Just because yeah, he has been struggling. Um, Yeah, I mean, even been more inclined to start like a Demario Douglas over him in the same matchup.
Woo. Yeah, I mean Diggs is he's definitely it's low, man. I mean he's been basically a wide receiver three every week.
Yeah,
That's kind of how I have him ranked. Demario Douglas, that one will take some nuggets for sure, man. I mean, I at that point I feel like I would just instinctually go Diggs, but it's like one of those player A, player B type things, which is like which guy would you rather have if you just threw the stats up and the fantasy finishes? It would be really close, but knowing the fact that I know who I'm putting in,
yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
I'm still gonna go Diggs here. Um, Ezekiel Elliott, though, been filling in admirably for Ramondre Stevenson. Has had one bad game within that span, but is still seeing a very high reception total there.
Yep.
How do you rank him this week in a matchup against Buffalo that allowed 29th most PPR points to the position?
Yeah, I'm putting him out there as a solid I mean RB2. Yeah, they're gonna I think run this offense through two people, and that's Ramondre and Demario. So I'll take that volume.
So Demario Douglas, how high do you have him ranked then, considering that you would play him ahead of Stephon Diggs?
Yeah, mid-tier wide receiver too. Yeah, yeah.
Anything else on this game, Greg?
No.
Moving on to the 7-8 Atlanta Falcons traveling to Chicago to take on the 6-9 Chicago Bears. This game has a 37.5 point total, and the Chicago Bears are 3 point favorites. Uh, I am going to go with the over here. I'm going to take Chicago to cover the 3, and I'll take Chicago to win the game.
Yeah, I'll take the under, but I'll take Chicago to cover and Chicago to win as well.
On the Atlanta side, we saw Bijan get back to that RB1 type usage. Definitely think that he's an RB1 this week. Um, Drake London, I think that's a conversation worth having. I probably will have him as a wide receiver too, but I understand people's hesitation to play him this week. Greg, how do you feel about Drake London this week?
Yeah, I mean, as long as this weather is solid, which it looks like it will be, just be cold. Think the passing offense could do a little something. So I'm gonna have him as a low end wide receiver too. Yeah, hopefully they just got to get him involved, earlier and often. Like he can't be getting his first catch in like the second half and stuff like that. So tough.
Now, Chicago allows the seventh most PPR points to the tight end position. I don't know if there's a particular player on the Atlanta side that might pique your interest. There's a guy there, I think, wears number 8, scored a touchdown last week,
He
finishes
did.
a
He did.
top 12 tight end. Is there any interest on your part to play said number 8 on the Atlanta Falcons?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, as low end tight end one, or if you're not that top tier, I think all muddled up in that low end tight end one value. I think he's right in there, especially for this matchup.
Can you say the name? Because
Oh,
I can't.
Kyle Right, right,
Okay,
right. Yeah,
great.
yeah,
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 just want to make sure the listeners know who we're talking
yeah, yeah,
about,
yeah, yeah,
just in case they don't have a roster in front of them and can't see who number 8 is.
yeah.
Um, number 8 in your program, number 1 in my heart. So, uh, Greg, on the Chicago side, Justin Fields had a nice game last week. We saw him run for a touchdown as well. Uh, how do you feel about him in this matchup against the Atlanta Falcons, who allow the 29th most points to the quarterback position?
Yeah, I'm still, throwing him out there as a wide. I mean, QB1. Doesn't matter. I mean, he does what he has to do for the team. Passing, he leads the team in rushing yards as well. So he will be everything for this team, and the
That
team
is
that's playing
actually
better.
absurd that he leads the team in rushing, considering the fact that he's missed like 5 games.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, Cole Kmet, I don't know what his injury status is in this week. I know he did have a knee injury last week, had to leave that game. And he was a DMP on Wednesday. I think I would probably lean with him not playing.
yeah, yeah. That means I'm really only trusting DJ Moore. I mean, and that was a tough week he had last week as well. So, but I think if he's gonna throw it to anyone to have a solid dominant day, it'll be him.
Yeah, I think I agree with that there. Um, all right, let's DJ Morris. It's gonna be tough, but he did have that ankle injury. Was trying to play through it, so probably gonna have him as a wide receiver too. Um, on the anything else on this game, Greg?
No.
All right, let's move on to this next one. The 5-10 Tennessee Titans traveling to Houston to take on the 8-7 Houston Texans. This game has a 42.5 point total, and the Houston Texans are 3.5 point favorites at home. Greg, where are you going with this one?
Yeah, I'm gonna take the under. I'm gonna take Houston to cover and Houston to win, especially if Stroud's playing. Really, honestly, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, Stroud looks like Stroud is going to play here. I'm going to take the over. I'm going to take Houston to cover, Houston to win. How does Stroud's return to the lineup impact the Houston Texans and their pieces?
Yeah, absolutely. This team automatically gets upgraded to that potential that, possibly making the playoffs, doing what they got to do. Stroud goes right back into QB1 territory. Nico Collins managers are probably screaming he's back into, I think, high end wide receiver two territory with some wide receiver one upside. And yeah, and especially if No Bound's able to go as well, he's sliding, I think it's a good flex position.
Yeah, I'm gonna have Nico as a probably that low end wide receiver one. Love Stroud this week as a low end QB1. The matchup is good here. Devin Singletary, I think, is a strong RB1 here.
Hmm.
Has really locked down that role over these last several weeks. Noah Brown, I agree, he's probably a flex play, and then Dalton Schultz probably gonna be in that tight end one territory. Did finish as a tight end one last week without Stroud.
Yeah.
I think he can repeat that this week with Stroud. On the Tennessee side, Derrick Henry is probably the most impossible player to put a finger on this year because the volume is there, right? Like that's never the question. It's not a question of whether Derrick Henry's going to get the touches. It's just a matter of what is he going to do with said touches. How do you feel about Henry this week in a matchup against the Houston Texans, who over their last 3 games allow the 22nd most PPR points to the running back position?
Yeah, I think I do like them a little bit more because they are using them in the red zone a lot, and that down by the goal line, they give them direct snaps too, so that's always good. So I'm gonna have him as a RB2 for this matchup. And Tajay Spears is, seems like he's up and down a lot, but he can always finish like with double-digit fantasy points. So it's always interesting to possibly throw him out there as like a good deep league flex.
Any interest in DeAndre Hopkins? This pass defense for the Houston Texans is absolutely like Swiss cheese at this point.
Yeah.
Sixth most points to the quarterback position, eighth most to the wide receiver, ninth most to the tight end. So obviously Chigo, your tight end stream of the week there. He's probably in that tight end one territory. But Hopkins, how do you feel about him in this matchup?
Yeah, he has to get a slight bump, especially with Houston being so bad. I wouldn't go too crazy as to say he's, a wide receiver one or anything, but I think he's in that wide receiver two territory this week.
I'm probably gonna have him borderline wide receiver two, closer to
Yeah.
that wide receiver three range there for me, but definitely agree with your assessment there. Anything else on this game, Greg?
No, no. Good to
Moving
see
on to
Stroud back.
this, good to see Stroud back, man. Moving on to this next game here, we got the 7-8 Las Vegas Raiders traveling to Indianapolis to take on the 8-7 Indianapolis Colts. This game has a 43.5 point total, where the Indianapolis Colts are 3 point favorites at home here. Greg, where are you going with this matchup?
Yeah, this is probably one of the toughest to call. I think two of the, I guess playing really well right now. I'm gonna go with the under though. I'm gonna take Vegas to cover and Vegas to win.
I'm going with the over. I'm going to go with Vegas to cover, Vegas to win. Michael Pittman seems like we might get him back this week. Las Vegas allows the 19th most PPR points to the wide receiver position. How do you rank Pittman in potentially his return to action this week in this matchup?
Yeah, if he's back in, he's back to wide receiver one level. Yeah, no questions for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I have him right on that cusp of wide receiver one, but I agree, right? You put him right back in your lineup.
Hmm.
Uh, Jonathan Taylor, I think, is an RB1. I mean, the matchup's kind of tough. Las Vegas has been much better against running backs in recent weeks, 28th most PPR points to the position
Hmm.
over their last 3, but I don't think you shy away from any matchup with Jonathan Taylor.
No, no, especially with his touchdown opportunity. Got another one last week, so yeah, throw him out there.
Any interest in Gardner Minshew as a potential stream? I mean, or maybe even in QB2 or two quarterback leagues?
Yeah, probably two quarterback leagues, but yeah, nothing further than that.
On the Las Vegas side, Devontae Adams, it's kind of crazy to call him a wide receiver too, but that's basically what he's been all
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
Um, Again, feels kind of crazy to do that, but do you have any reservations about him in this matchup against Indianapolis? 29th most PPR points allowed to the wide receiver position.
No, no, I think the volume will still be there. I'm still confident throwing him out there as a wide receiver too.
Now, Indianapolis over their last 3 games allows the second most PPR points to the running back position. So they've been definitely beatable on the ground. Zamir White has done really well with this job over these last two games, but
Hmm.
it's possible that Josh Jacobs returns to the lineup. How would you approach this backfield if Josh Jacobs were to return? Right, if Josh Jacobs sits, Zamir White, you start him up like no questions asked. But question becomes, what do you do if Jacobs returns?
If Jacobs returns, I would assume they go back to Jacobs as the guy, and he's the one keep getting the paper too. So he's going to be kind of that borderline RB1 territory. But Zamir White, I think he's earned himself a role. So I think it was kind of like how JT and Zach Moss were for a little bit. So I'm gonna have him as a RB3 with some RB2 upside.
Yeah, I think I agree there, right? Like the matchup here is really good. Um, when you ask yourself, how does or how is Las Vegas going to try to win this game? It's not going to be on the back of Aiden O'Connell.
Mm.
So, Josh Jacobs, I think, would be an RB2 in that scenario. And then, like you said, Zamir White has earned some opportunities where he would have to play him as an RB3 potentially.
Yeah.
Especially if you're desperate there at the running back position. Moving on to this next matchup here, we've got the 8-7 LA Rams traveling to MetLife to take on the 5-10 New York Giants. This game has a 42-point total, where the LA Rams are 6.5-point favorites on the road. I'm going to take the under of 42. I'm going to take the Giants to cover the 6.5, but I'm going to take the Rams to win this game.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the over. I'll take the Giants to cover, but the Rams to win as well.
On the Rams side, I feel like, again, all your usual suspects here. I
Big
think
four.
the big four, right? So
Yeah.
Kyron, Cup, and Puka, I think they're all ones at their positions. I
Yeah.
don't see how you cannot have them as ones. Matthew Stafford, I mean, the Giants allow the 12th most fantasy points to the quarterback position over their last three games. Matthew Stafford seems to be in a good spot here. How would you rank him ahead of this matchup?
Yeah, I think he's a QB1 for this week for sure. Have him over like guys like we talked about Tua, talked about Joe Flacco. I think I have Stafford over those guys.
I agree with that sentiment. On the Giants side, we talked about Tyrod Taylor. Do you think he finishes as a QB1 this week?
I think so, like 12, 13. I think that's reasonable for him. Yeah, it was just the matchup, his legs giving you a safe floor. Yeah, I think he's in a good spot here.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think he could finish as QB1. Didn't we have a bet last week on somebody?
DeVito was supposed to finish top 15. Yeah, yeah,
It clearly did not happen.
yeah. The Eagles just own us, man. They just have our number. It's not, I don't know if it's him. That I think Daboll hasn't beat the Eagles or Dallas yet. Yeah, tough.
I would say I'm sorry, but I'm a Jets fan, and we haven't beat New England in like 16 tries. So, um, on the staying with the Giants, Saquon Barkley about an RB2. I mean, the Rams have been rock solid against running backs, 32nd most PPR points allowed to the position, but Barkley is the engine for this Giants offense.
Yeah, I'm gonna say yeah, high in RB2. Yeah, RB1 upside.
Yeah, no, definitely some RB1
Yeah,
upside. Probably, rank them RB 15 or 16 when it's said and done.
yeah,
Um, Wandell Robinson, I'm out. No, I'm out. Darius
yeah,
Slayton, though,
yeah.
I
Slayton be the only one, the only one, and that's even like deep league flex. Like that's it.
I don't know why I end up falling in love with like the Wandell Robinsons or the Rondell Moores. It's like you watch those guys go get vertical and try to make a contested catch, and it's like they're like he's never gonna catch that ball.
They
Like
have talent.
he's
I mean, yeah,
no, they have talent for sure,
yeah,
but like they need to those players like that are better going horizontal than like vertical.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, so it was just a thought I had watching this game. Maybe I need to readjust like how I look at players like that. But Darren Waller had a bad game last week, but the Rams have been like tight end city like literally all
Mhm.
year. Last week, Jawan Johnson had 40 yards and a touchdown. Darren Waller has to be in consideration for a tight end one.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Anything else on this game?
No, no.
Moving on to this next one, the 11-4 San Francisco 49ers traveling to Washington. Take on the 4-11 Washington Commanders. This game has a 48.5-point total where the San Francisco 49ers are 13.5-point favorites on the road here. Uh, Greg, where are you going with this one?
Yeah, I mean, Brissett is starting, so that does kind of change how I feel a little bit. I was gonna take, San Fran to cover, but I'll take the over, Washington to cover, but San Fran to win.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the over. Outside of last week's game, San Fran's been handed these double-digit
Yeah,
lines, and they've covered every single time.
yeah, yeah.
So I'm gonna take them to cover again, and I'm gonna take them to win this game. On
Everybody,
yeah, just everybody. We've
everybody.
we've literally said it for like 4 weeks now, right? Just
No,
play
yeah,
all the 49ers, like
yeah.
just
Washington,
CMC,
yeah.
Brock.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
come on.
yeah.
Like, did you watch the Jets game last week? Like CMC, Brock Purdy, Ayuk, Debo Samuel, George Kittle, start them
Yep,
all up.
yep.
Uh, on the Washington side, I think Brissett probably falls in as like a high end QB2. Oh man, I would start Brissett over Joe Flacco.
Oh man, that's tough. I get what you're saying. Yeah, I'll still take Joe Flacco slightly. Yeah. I'm
uh,
sad
t-
Chris Rodriguez is on IR, man. He had a really good spot last week, played well, but he's on IR
this
now.
is this is news to me.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, he's on IR because I had him on the team and I was ready to start him this week, and he's on IR
Oh, that's
with
unfortunate.
with his ankle. Yeah,
Um. All right. So, and are we any closer to Brian Robinson this week?
I think we are at Antonio Gibson and
Is
Derek
it?
Gore and Derek Gore, Frank Gore's son.
Yeah. I mean, Brian Robinson was limited.
Yeah,
I mean, sign me up, man. I'm down for AG, bro.
yeah.
Like
In this type of game, yeah,
in this type of game, give me AG all day.
yeah. I think with you.
I mean, the only concern we have is that he fumbles the ball and doesn't see the field again.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I will have him as an RB3. If that's the case, if there's no Brian Robinson, I think he's an RB3. If Brian Robinson does return to action, are you playing Brian Robinson in his first game coming back from the hamstring?
I don't know if I could do that.
I don't know
I
if
don't
I
know.
could do that
Yeah,
either.
yeah.
Terry
Against
McLaurin,
San
though.
Fran. Yeah, I mean, just based off game script and everything like that, I think he's gonna fall into a wide receiver, at least a wide receiver 3 floor with some wide receiver 2 upside.
Now, San Francisco has allowed the most fantasy points, PPR points to the tight end position over their last 3 games. Any intrigue there with Logan Thomas, who scored a touchdown last week?
Yeah, yeah. I think Jacoby Brissett will, give this team some drives, so I think Logan Thomas will be involved.
Like that. Anything else on this game, Greg?
No, no.
Moving on to the 2-13 Carolina Panthers traveling to Jacksonville to take on the 8-7 Jacksonville Jaguars. This game has a 37.5-point total, and the Jags are 6.5-point favorites. Jags are fighting for the AFC South as well as potentially a wild card, or I mean either or, but you know what I mean. Basically, their playoff life. Uh, I'm going to take the under here. I'm going to take Carolina to cover. I'm going to take Jacksonville to win the game.
Yeah, I'm all three. I'm the same with you.
Chuba Hubbard finished as an RB2 last week. Much to my chagrin there, but probably an RB2 again this week.
Yeah, matchup's good. But yeah, RB2.
Um, Adam Thielen, DJ Shark, a revenge game for DJ Shark, by the way.
Mm.
How do you view those guys in this matchup against Jacksonville, who allows the 17th most PPR points to the wide receiver position over their last 3 games.
Yeah, I feel like for this passing offense has to be like a very green matchup, very positive for them to really do something. So I'm gonna just stay away. I'm gonna just stick with Chuba Hubbard, honestly.
Understood. Very fair assessment. Um, on the Jacksonville side, we have questions about whether Trevor Lawrence is going to play. He's suffered again what's looked like another multi-week injury, but probably anticipate him playing.
Jalen
So,
Waddle quarterback, yo, crazy.
I, yeah,
He's out
yeah. I
here.
mean, at
He's
this
coming back.
point, how do you view Trevor Lawrence this week in a matchup against the Carolina Panthers, who allow the 19th most fantasy points to the quarterback position?
Um, if Lawrence is able to go, I mean, even with last week, he couldn't really do it against Tampa Bay, who's usually like very beatable. I think I'm staying away from him as well. I think especially with the season he's having, it hasn't been overwhelmingly great. He hasn't really had a really like high in QB1 weeks, none of those. I would think he's more of a mid tier QB2 in this matchup.
Yeah, I would agree there.
I think they're not going to really need him to win anyway. Yeah.
Evan Ingram, in a nice spot here. Yeah, Carolina allows the 11th most PPR points to the tight end position. Obviously, we've seen no Zay Jones, no Christian Kirk. Evan Ingram has taken up a sizable role in this offense,
hmm
so he's a tight end one. The question is, Travis Etienne, Calvin Ridley, those two guys have struggled in recent weeks.
hmm
Um, how do you view them at their respective positions?
I like ETN more than Ridley, just running back. I think he's going to get that volume. Yeah. So I take ETN as a RB2, Ridley as a low end wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 3.
Yeah, I'm gonna have Ridley as a wide receiver 3, and ETN is like a high end RB 3 on the RB 2 border. Um, anything else on that game, Greg?
No.
Moving on to the 3-12 Arizona Cardinals traveling to Philadelphia to take on the 11-4 Philadelphia Eagles. This game has a 48-point total where the Eagles are 10.5 point favorites at home here. Greg, where are you going with this one?
Yeah, I'm gonna take the over. Uh, take the Eagles cover, Eagles to win.
I'm going to take the over with the Cardinals to cover and the Eagles to win. On the Arizona side, I McBride, I think obviously is going to be a tight end one. If you
hmm
throw last week out, I think James Conner, he's back to back games with uh, at least 17 PPR points.
hmm
I think you have to throw him out there in this matchup. I mean, Philadelphia, they've 14th most PPR points allowed to the running back position, so they've softened up a little bit against the run here. So I think James Conner has RB1 finish in his sights this week.
Yeah, I agree.
Kyler Murray, how do you feel about him? I mean, Philadelphia, we know what they were like last week going into that matchup. We felt really good about it. Coming out of it, Tommy DeVito face planted in that first half. Tyrod Taylor was able to do a lot in that second half.
hmm
How do you feel about Kyler Murray this week?
I like Kyler Murray. I think he was, able to give you a solid week last week. I think he's also back in this kind of conversation of being a borderline QB1.
Yeah, I agree there. On the Philadelphia side, Jalen Hurts, obvious QB1. I think DeAndre Swift, coming off the big game
Yeah, you're in
on,
another good spot here too.
yeah, another really good spot here. And then the wide receivers, AJ Brown, wide receiver one for sure. Devontae Smith, probably a wide receiver two or so for me. Had a nice game last week, but has seen his role fluctuate here with the return of Dallas Goddard. How do you
Yeah.
feel about? I mean, a Goddard, I think you probably have him as a tight end one, but how do you
Yep.
feel about the where Devontae Smith slides in?
Yeah, I love Dallas Goddard's matchup. Devonta Smith with the amount of targets that Goddard's gonna demand. I think that does lower Devonta Smith down to more of a wide receiver, low end wide receiver too.
Yeah, I agree there. Anything else on this game, Greg?
No.
Moving on to the last 1 p.m. game, the 7-8 New Orleans Saints traveling to Tampa Bay to take on the 8-7 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This game has a 42-point total, where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 3-point favorites here. I'm going to go with the over here. I'm going to go with the Bucks to cover and the Bucks to win.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
This is a nice spot here for the passing game for the New Orleans Saints side. Tampa Bay allows the 5th most fantasy points to the quarterback position, 6th most to the wide receiver, and 3rd most to the tight end position. So that would mean Derek Carr is in a nice spot. Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed are in nice spots, as well as Juwan Johnson. I guess let's start with Carr or Joe Flacco this week.
Joe Flacco.
I know, because if you say it out loud, then it definitely doesn't happen. Right? If we say it out loud, it definitely doesn't happen. Derek Carr.
No week Derek Carr comes through 2 weeks in a row. No way. No way. I just can't. I can't see it.
Yeah, man. Oh man, that is a tough one.
There's no analysis between Derek Carr at this point. Like
it just doesn't make sense, right?
It's crazy.
It's like, when we all have left him for dead, that's when he wants to have his best game, right? And then now we're gonna flock to him, be like, hey, analysts all over being like, hey, you could play Derek Carr this week, and then now it's like face plant.
Yep.
So play Derek Carr at your own risk. That's, I think, is what we agree upon. Chris Olave, wide receiver 1. Yep. Rashid Shaheed, I will rank him as a wide receiver 3, but obviously there is upside for more there.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, he's got one of the highest upsides for any wide receiver, just with big play activity. He can run it back for a rush. I mean, a kickoff return. Also, he has that punt return touchdown activity there too. So, yeah, definitely has some great upside.
And then Alvin Kamara, I think, the spot's not great. Tampa Bay 30th most PPR points to the running back position, but Alvin Kamara does get his in the way of the passing game as well. Mm-hmm. So I will have him ranked as an RB1 this week.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then Juwan Johnson, I think you could obviously throw out there as a tight end 1 for sure. On the Tampa Bay side, I think, they're equally in a halfway decent spot. New Orleans allows the 14th most PPR points to the wide receiver position. So Mike Evans, like, impossible to bench him right now. But red hot. I mean, this is the Marshawn Lattimore matchup again here. So just any concern there, Greg?
He finished the game last time, so I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt for this one as well. So you can throw him out there.
Yeah, Chris Godwin, are you throwing him out there?
Not with confidence. I probably stay away.
I'm curious to see what he did last week. I know the week before was obviously very good.
Yeah.
I do have him down as a wide receiver, borderline wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2. 6 for 78 last week, so pretty good, coming off the 10 for 55. So I think you can go ahead and play him as like a high-end wide receiver 2 this week. Rachaad White, obviously continue to play him as an RB1. Yep. Question is, are we going with Baker Mayfield? Has been basically balling all year, but
absolutely
matchup is not particularly great. I guess I'll ask you the question we've been asking all day: Baker Mayfield or Joe Flacco? It sounds like you're going Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, going Baker.
All right. It's funny how we just don't even bring up Kate On anymore.
No need to.
just done. Moving on to this next matchup, the first of the 4:00 games, 4:05 p.m. The 8-7 Pittsburgh Steelers traveling to Seattle to take on the 8-7 Seattle Seahawks. This game has a 41.5 point total, and the Seattle Seahawks are 3.5 point favorites. Greg, where are you going with this one?
I'm gonna take the over. I'm gonna take Pittsburgh to cover and put Seattle to win.
I'm gonna take the under with Seattle to cover and Seattle to win. Pickens or Deontay, which one are you going?
I'm gonna go Mason Rudolph starting again.
Mason Rudolph is starting again.
Yeah, I'll go Pickens.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too. Pickens is a wide receiver 2. Deontay is a wide receiver 3. Najee or Jaylen Warren?
I go Jaylen Warren.
Yeah, I'm also there. I have Jalen Warren as an RB2 and Najee as
Yeah.
an RB3 with Mason Rudolph as a QB2 this week. I'm not going to ask it because if we are asking to play Mason Rudolph in championship week, we are in serious freaking trouble. So I'm not going to ask the question.
I play him over
Uh,
Trevor Lawrence.
okay, that's a take. For the Seattle side, uh, Kenneth Walker face planted against Tennessee last week. Has a halfway decent matchup as Pittsburgh allows the 13th most PPR points to the running back position. Are you How high are you ranking Kenneth Walker this week?
He's an RB3 for me. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with him right now. Yeah.
I'm gonna take the average of his week 2 weeks ago and last week and land at an RB2 here
Or
with Kenneth Walker. Uh, Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf's been kind of on a roll here.
hmm
Tyler Lockett had his first, respectably good game
hmm
in several weeks. Uh, I'm gonna put both these guys in wide receiver twos, but if I had both of them, I'd probably lean DK because of that touchdown upside.
Yeah, I agree. Yep.
Anything else on this game, Greg?
No.
Moving on to 425 kickoff, the 8-7 Cincinnati Bengals traveling to Kansas City to take on the 9-6 Kansas City Chiefs. These are your typical Kansas City Chiefs. This game has a 44.5 point total. The Chiefs are 7 point favorites. I'm going to take the over here. I'm going to take Kansas City to cover. I'm going to take Kansas City to win the game.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the over, but I'll take Cincinnati to cover and Kansas City to win.
Are you any interest in Jake Browning this week? Kansas City allows the 31st most PPR points to the quarterback position. Jake Browning has been a solid QB2 every week,
Yeah.
and a QB1 in most weeks since taking over outside of last week. But is coming off a 3 interception game. Any interest in Browning in this game?
Yeah, I'm willing to throw Browning out there as a solid QB2.
I definitely agree there. Joe Mixon, I think, probably a solid RB2 this week. Kansas City coming off that game where they allowed 145 yards on the ground to Zamir White, 16th most PPR points to the running back position in their last 3 games. So I definitely think Mixon is in play as an RB2.
Yeah. Yeah. Having with little some RB1 upside as well. Yeah.
For sure. Jamar Chase missed last week with a shoulder injury. Could make his way back into the lineup this week potentially. So something to monitor as the week goes on. But the Kansas City Chiefs very strong against opposing wide receivers. They're the 32nd. They're allowing the 32nd most PPR points to the position over their last 3 games. Are you throwing Chase out there immediately if he does go?
Yes, as a wide receiver, high end wide receiver too. And then if not, Higgins I think is a strong wide receiver too as well.
If Chase does go, what does that do to Higgins for you in your mind?
I think I bump him down to kind of that low end wide receiver too. Just they probably vulture each other up because of the matchup being pretty tough in this one.
Any interest in Chase Brown as like an RB3 flex option?
RB3. I think it can go that route. Yeah.
On the Kansas City side, continuing to be really concentrated there. I think Mahomes is a QB1. I really like Rashee Rice this week as a wide receiver one. I mean, he's been on a tear lately. Travis Kelsey face planted, but this is like literally one of the best matchups we can ask for a tight end. So I think you got to treat him as a tight end one.
Yeah.
Question: and do you disagree with anything I just said? I don't know if you.
No. Yeah. I think that's good assessment.
Pacheco, there's a question about him if he's going to play this week. Did suffer a concussion, so is in the concussion protocol. Uh, would you like? I mean, I guess if he goes, how would you rank him this week? And if he doesn't go this week, how would you rank Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who pretty much would have this backfield to himself?
Yeah. If Pacheco's able to go, I think he's an RB2. If not, then Clyde slides in as a RB2. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that there. Anything else on this game?
No, no.
Moving on to the last of the 425 games, the 5-10 Los Angeles Chargers traveling to Denver to take on the 7-8 Denver Broncos. This game, the line moved on this game. The total's down to 37.5, and the Broncos went from 5.5 point favorites to 3.5 point favorites. And that's because they made a financial decision to bench Russell Wilson and play Jarrett Stidham, even though they have a marginal chance of making the playoffs. It's not zero, but it's less than 10%. But that's a whole other conversation, I think, because it just doesn't make sense to me why we would make this decision if you're still mathematically alive. But I guess they're already looking forward to next offseason. I'm going to take the over here. I'm going to take the Chargers to cover, and I'm going to take the Broncos to win.
Yeah, I'm saying with you. I think I'm gonna take the under, but I'll take the Broncos to cover. Chargers covering, Broncos to win.
Yeah. Any interest in Jarrett Stidham going up against the Denver or the LA Chargers, who allowed the third most fantasy points to the quarterback position over their last 3 games?
I mean, I could see him having a day, just be hard to predict. Maybe like two quarterback leagues, DFS, like you can make the argument for him. Um, but other than that, it's tough, especially with Cortland Sutton being hurt. Uh, yeah, it'd be hard for me to start anyone on the side except Jared Judy.
Yeah, I mean, the Chargers are a very beatable defense. Third
Yeah,
most
they
against
are.
the quarterback, 11th most PPR points to the running back, ninth most PPR points to the wide receiver, 24th most to the tight end, but we don't really use tight end in Denver. So, um, yeah, it's very tough to trust anybody. I think Javonte Williams, I think, would have to be like an RB3 with some RB2, potentially RB1 upside here.
Yeah,
But it's hard to be excited about anybody on this Denver side.
yeah, absolutely.
On the Chargers side, Denver allows the 11th most points to the quarterback, fifth most to the running back, 15th to the wide receiver, and fifth most to the tight end. So I look at that and I think, is Austin Eckler back in RB1 territory?
RB tie and RB2, not RB1. Yeah,
I'm gonna put him as an RB1 this week on the lower end. Did see his usage go back up last week in the first game without Brandon Staley. Was also his best game of the season since before he suffered that high ankle sprain. So I will have him as a low end RB1. Uh, Greg, I don't know, maybe something got into me, but Gerald Everett is a tight end one this week.
yeah. With the usage, especially, he's been getting targeted a lot. Last 2 games, I think at least 8. So, yeah, I think you got them out there.
And then Josh Palmer, probably have him as a wide receiver 3 this week. How do you feel about him in this matchup?
Yeah, yeah. Wide receiver 3. Yeah, deep league guy. I'm not excited though. Yeah,
No, no.
yeah.
Anything else on this game?
No, no.
Moving on to the last game of the week, Sunday Night Football. The 7-8 Green Bay Packers traveling to Minnesota to take on the 7-8 Minnesota Vikings. This game has a 46.5 point total, where the Minnesota Vikings are 1.5 point favorites at home here. Greg, where are you going with this game?
I'm gonna take the under. I'm gonna take Green Bay to cover and Green Bay to win.
I will go over. I'm going to go Minnesota to cover, Minnesota to win the game. Um, on the Green Bay side, I think Jordan Love is in QB2 type territory.
Hmm.
Aaron Jones, I think he's back and he's healthy, so you can treat him as an RB2 as well. Um, how do you feel about the wide receiver position here for the Green Bay Packers?
Yeah, do think Jaden Reed is in a good spot here. Romeo Dobbs can create a safe floor. But yeah, that's really about it as far as who I'm going with. And Tucker Craft as far as pass catchers. I think as far as pass catchers, Reed and Tucker Craft at the top for me at that list.
Yeah, I would agree there. If Reed can't go, I think Dobbs, would immediately slide in as a potential wide receiver too.
Yeah,
Um, on the Minnesota side, Justin Jefferson, a wide receiver one. I mean, this Green Bay defense is terrible.
yeah, it is. Yeah.
Um, second most points allowed to the quarterback, second most points allowed to the wide receiver, 18th allowed to running back, 26th to the tight end. So I think Mullins has QB1 upside here. Mullins or Joe Flacco?
I'm a say, I mean, Mullins could throw for like 250, 300 yards, but it's a matter of those turnovers. Like, how are you going to get, the same amount that we did last week? Probably not four, but
I mean, he still finished. Mullins finished as a QB1 last
yeah,
week.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what
So,
I do think this
Bryce
game be a
Young
little ugly.
finished as a QB1 last week
Yeah.
against these same Green Bay Packers.
You got Jeff, no Hawk though to throw to, no Addison too. So I don't really.
KJ Osborne, Brandon Powell, like Josh Oliver.
I'll take Flacco.
I'm gonna go Nick Mullins, man. Ty Chandler, probably gonna have him as an RB2. I mean, this matchup is pretty good here. And Chandler's been getting a lot of volume over these last few weeks. Um,
Yeah.
any objections to that?
Yeah. No.
Are you willing to stream a Josh Oliver this week? I mean, he's gotten targets when Hawk has even been healthy, but with Hawk out, I mean, any thought that Josh Oliver becomes relevant?
Uh, it's possible, but I think I wouldn't go there.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Yeah.
in a I don't know if you're in like a two tight end league or you're in
Yeah. Deep
a
league.
deep
Yeah.
league or
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you had Hawkinson and you
Yeah.
still made it to the championship, but your opponent has taken up every possible tight end to play. Like I would play Josh Oliver. I mean, we've seen with Kevin Stefanski. This isn't Stefanski. This is Kevin
Hope
O'Connell.
his what's his name is also involved. Johnny Munt.
Johnny Munt. I think he's more of a blocker. I mean, I haven't seen Johnny Munt catch many passes. I mean, we've seen Josh Oliver catch passes though. And
Mhm.
we saw in recent years, right? Like Irv Smith went down, Tyler Conklin like immediately slotted into
Yeah.
that role,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, I think it's possible that Josh Oliver, has some potential upside in this game. Anything else on this game, Greg?
No.
Moving on to that money time, man. Those starts of the week. Greg, your quarterback start of the week this week.
Yeah, man. I mean, we gotta not lose faith in who he is as quarterback. Brock Purdy, man, going against Washington. This is the get right game for all the fantasy managers, for himself to go off in this matchup and really have a nuclear day. I think going for if there's some bets I'm taking is on some Brock Purdy overs for his yards and his touchdowns against probably the worst passing defense in the league, Washington all season. So fire up Brock Purdy.
Yeah, definitely like that there. I'm going with Kyler Murray for my quarterback start of the week, going up against Philadelphia. Philadelphia has been a good matchup. Tommy DeVito face planted against them last week, but we saw what Tyrod was able to do in a half of football. Should be a nice bounce back spot here for Kyler, who, again, is mostly underwhelmed these last several weeks. But I like this game to go over. I like, Arizona to keep it close and get a potential shootout here between these two young quarterbacks who, if I recall, this was a matchup that won me a decent amount of cash a couple of years ago. Jalen Hurts is like first year, seeing playing time. So maybe we get some of that, that magic here in this game.
Yeah, definitely.
Greg, your running back start of the week this week. What do you got?
Yeah, I'm also going with the bounce back for Joe Mixon, going against Kansas City. We saw what the Raiders were able to do against Kansas City. They kind of like shown that we'll take the hit on the running game and lock down the passing game. So Joe Mixon is going to have a really good day here as well. Jake Brown and them are going to keep it close. I think that starts with giving Joe Mixon the ball.
Yeah, I definitely like that one there. I'm going to go with Devin Singletary going up against Tennessee. Singletary's playing some really good football right now, seeing 70% of the team rush attempts the last couple of weeks, averaging 4.8 yards per carry over his last 3 games. And is in a nice spot against the Tennessee defense that is middle of the pack against running backs over their last 3 matchups. So give me Devin Singletary in championship week.
Yes, sir.
Greg, your wide receiver start of the week this week. What do you got?
Yeah, I'm assuming he's gonna come back from injury and stuff, be healthy. Jaden Reed going against Minnesota. He has a really good matchup on the outside. And when he's in, he's been that number one guy for Jordan Love. Usually getting the most receptions and being used towards the goal line, even in rushing activity. So last game he was in there, had 8 targets. The previous game 10. So he's definitely a guy that's going to be used in a very high rate.
Yeah, I definitely like that one a lot. My wide receiver start of the week this week, I'm going with Rashee Rice going up against Cincinnati. His target totals, though, have been way up these last several weeks. I mean, had 12 targets last week. He's seen double-digit targets in 3 of his last 5 games. Hasn't had less than 9 targets during that same 5 game span. He's caught at least 6 passes during that span as well. And facing off against the Cincinnati defense that's allowed the third most PPR points to the position over the last 3 games. I think Rashee Rice is a smash start.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully, he can finish the season strong, bounce back after, the offense had a tough week last week as well.
Most definitely. Greg, your tight end start of the week this week. What do you got?
Yeah, going Dallas Goddard, going against Arizona, showed, he's again another week healthier. I think he's gonna have a smash spot here for closing out the season in a great way. Get ready for the playoffs for this team, and demand a lot of targets for this team as well against Arizona, who they should dominate offensively.
Yeah, I like that one as well. I'm gonna actually upgrade your stream of the week to a start
Okay.
of the week here with Chigo Okonkwo. Fantastic matchup for Chigo. Greg, you obviously like him as your stream, but like I said, I'm gonna double down here on that vote of confidence, make him my start of the week. He's seen at least 5 targets in 4 of his last 5 games, but is coming off of his best game of the season, where he had 7 targets for a season high 6 receptions with a season high 63 receiving yards and scoring his first touchdown on the year. Houston, over their last 3 games, have allowed the 9th most PPR points to the position, and this should right here should provide a nice opportunity here for Chigo.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's just been solid all year. Now he's due, man. He's really due.
Now, for everybody's favorite segment but mine, the Greg Penniman Invitational. I mean, sorry, the Get Money segment. Uh, Greg, it is a odd week, but I technically have the first pick here, so I'm gonna go with. Hmm. Just give me Mr. Steady Eddie here. Rashad White, 7,900, going up against the New Orleans Saints as my running back.
Yeah, that's a good one for sure. That's tough. Yeah, I'm gonna take Kyron Williams then, 9,400, going against the Giants.
Alrighty then. Mm, I'm gonna go with my wide receiver start of the week in Rashee Rice, 7,400, going up against Cincinnati.
At my second running back, I'm gonna take DeAndre Swift, 7,600, going against Arizona.
Mm, Damn it, man. For my second wide receiver, give me Brandon Ayuk, 7,500, going up against Washington.
For my first wide receiver, I'm gonna take DK Metcalf, 7,300, going against Pittsburgh.
Mm, okay. And for my third wide receiver, give me Puka Nakua, 7,900, going up against the Giants.
For my Second wide receiver, I'll take Chris Olave, 7,400 going against Tampa.
As my second running back, give me Jalen Warren, 5,700 going up against Seattle.
My tight end, I'm gonna take my tight end stream of the week, Chigo Bunkel, 5,400 going against Houston.
Nice. For my quarterback, I'm going Kyler Murray, 7,800 going up against Philadelphia. My quarterback start of the week.
For my third wide receiver, I'm gonna take Darius Slayton, 5,400 going against the Rams.
That really hurt me more than you know, Greg.
Yeah, I know he's really cheap. That's
Hurt me more than you know. You know what? Like, I got nothing to lose, right? I'm already out of it, right? So I could just do whatever I want here, essentially. For my tight end, give me Trey McBride, 6,800 to pair with my quarterback start of the week.
Now my flex, I'm gonna take Jerry Jeudy, 6,200 going against the Chargers.
For my defense, I'm going with the Atlanta Falcons defense, my defensive stream of the week, 3,600 going up against Chicago.
Yeah, taking my defensive stream of the week, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 4,100 going against New Orleans.
And in my flex, I'm going to go with Marvin Mims, 5,100 going up against the LA Chargers.
And at quarterback, I'm going to take Baker Mayfield, 7,200 going against New Orleans.
So to read off my lineup, that's probably going to lose again this week. I'm going with Kyler Murray, who's 7,800, my quarterback start of the week, going up against Philly. At running back, I got Rachaad White, 7,900, going up against New Orleans. At my second running back, I've got Jalen Warren, 5,700, going up against Seattle. As my first wide receiver, I've got Rashee Rice, my wide receiver start of the week, 7,400 going up against Cincinnati. My second wide receiver is Brandon Ayuk, 7,500 going up against Washington. My third wide receiver is Puka Nacua, 7,900 going up against the Giants. At tight end, I've got Trey McBride, 6,800 going up against Philly. As my flex, I've got Marvin Mims, 5,100 going up against the LA Chargers. And as my defense, I've got my defensive stream of the week, the Atlanta Falcons, 3,600 going up against Chicago.
Yeah, I got Baker Mayfield at quarterback, 7,200. DeAndre Swift, 7,600 at the RB1 spot going against Arizona. Kyren Williams at my RB2 spot, 9,400 going against the Giants. DK Metcalf, 7,300, the wide receiver spot. Chris Olave, 7,400 going against Tampa. Darius Slayton at 5,400 going against the Rams. Chigo Okonkwo, 5,400 at the tight end spot. Jerry Jeudy, my flex, 6,200, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense, 4,100 going against New Orleans.
Nice. Congrats on the win this week.
Thank you.
Greg, championship week. Anything you want to say to the people before we close this one out?
Yeah, hopefully it's a good week for you guys. I know a lot of stars are out, especially some big name guys. So hopefully, and the ones that didn't do well last week, hopefully they can bounce back for you this week.
Yeah, definitely hope they bounce back for you. Hope you guys win your matchups. Winning a fantasy championship is hard, so it takes a lot of luck, and the cards have to align basically your way, and hope that we've been able to do what we could to get you to where you need to be right now, and hopefully a successful fantasy championship. Try not to tilt too much. I know it becomes really hard during the this time, especially championship week, because basically all this culminates into essentially 1 week. But best of luck to you, unless you're playing against one of us, and sorry, I hope you catch a L. But anyways, good luck out there. Have a happy new year, everybody, and we will talk to y'all. I think we're coming back here on Tuesday. Is that right, Greg?
Yeah, with New Year's Day being Monday. Yeah.
Yeah, New Year's Day is Monday, so we'll be back here on Tuesday. So probably be Tuesday around 3 or so, but we'll let you guys obviously know. But until then, y'all have a good one. Good luck this weekend.